Humans were tired. Their bodies ached. Their minds were exhausted. The aliens thought they could break them, but humans had something the aliens could not understand. They had each other. They held hands. They trusted each other completely. Even the smallest human felt part of something bigger. Even the quietest human felt brave. Together they formed lines. Together they moved as one. The aliens attacked again, but they could not break the human formation. Courage was no longer about one person. It was about many, believing in each other, supporting each other, fighting together. The humans showed the galaxy that true courage could grow in unity, in trust, in hearts beating as one. The aliens began to hesitate. Humans had become more than individuals. They had become a force the galaxy had never seen before. The battle grew darker. Supplies were running low. The humans were exhausted. Fear and despair crept into their hearts. The aliens pressed forward, relentless, unforgiving, but humans did not give up. Lyra walked among her crew, her voice calm but strong. "We can do this. We must do this, even when everything seems lost." Hope became courage. It burned brighter than any weapon. It lifted the humans forward. They moved with purpose. They fought with determination. The aliens could not understand it. They had weapons, they had numbers, they had strength, but humans had something stronger, a heart that refused to surrender, a will that refused to break. Even in the darkness, they shone. Even in the hopelessness, they inspired. Courage was no longer just facing enemies. It was believing in something bigger, something worth fighting for. Even when everything seemed lost, humans had become unstoppable. The war had ended. Humans stood battered, tired, but undefeated. The aliens approached, not with weapons, not with anger, but with eyes full of respect. They had seen something they did not expect. Courage was no longer about who was strongest. It was about heart, choice, sacrifice, unity, hope. Humans had changed the way the galaxy saw bravery. Every act of courage, every small decision, every life risked had made a difference. Commander Lyra looked at her crew. Her heart swelled with pride. They had done more than survive. They had inspired. They had taught the galaxy a new meaning of courage. The legend of Orion 7 would be remembered forever, and humans would never be underestimated again. The story of courage was no longer a tale of strength alone. It was a story of humanity, of heart, of hope, and the galaxy had learned that true courage could not be measured by size or weapon. It could only be measured by the heart. In a small human colony on Orion 7, the air felt heavy. Every shadow seemed to watch. Every sound seemed too loud. Aliens moved silently in the distance, tall and cold, watching, judging. Humans seemed weak, fragile, unprepared. But inside each heart, a spark burned quietly. Commander Lyra walked through the colony, looking at her crew. She could feel their fear, but also their hope. She stopped by a young soldier. His hands were shaking. His eyes were wide. Lyra smiled gently. Courage is not the absence of fear, she wanted him to understand. Even the smallest human could face the impossible. Even the quietest human could make a difference. The horizon glowed red. A storm was coming, not of wind or rain, but of fire and steel. The aliens would strike soon, and when they did, everything would change. Lyra turned to her crew. Together, we will show them that courage lives in the human heart. The first alien strike came without warning. The ground shook beneath the colony. Machines roared like thunder. Explosions lit up the sky. Smoke and fire filled the air. Many humans froze. Fear gripped their hearts. But some ran forward, into danger, to help others escape. They lifted the wounded, guided the lost, ignored their own fear. The aliens watched silently. They had expected humans to run, to hide, to surrender, but humans did not. Courage was not about strength, it was about choice. Even trembling hands could hold a weapon. Even shaky voices could give commands. Even a small human could change the outcome of a battle. Lieutenant Kean grabbed a fallen comrade and carried him to safety. Lyra stood at the command center. Her heart pounded. She could feel the weight of every life in her hands, but she also saw something else, a spark of hope, a seed of courage growing in the darkness, and the aliens began to notice that humans were not as weak as they thought. The war had begun, but something unexpected was happening. Courage was showing itself in ways the galaxy had never seen. Humans were small in number. The aliens were many. They were strong, they were fast, they were confident, but humans had something else, a mind that never stopped thinking, a plan that never gave up. Commander Lyra gathered her team. They studied the enemy movements, every step, every signal, every weakness. They set traps, they created distractions, they used clever plans. Aliens laughed at first. They thought it was childish, but slowly, one by one, human strategies worked. A small, quiet human named Mira slipped past the enemy lines and stopped a powerful alien tank. No weapon could do what her mind did. Aliens began to hesitate. They could not understand how something so small could cause so much trouble. Courage was no longer about strength. It was intelligence in action. It was thinking when others ran. It was moving when others froze. Humans were proving something new, something dangerous, something the galaxy had never respected before. The battle was still raging, but now humans had begun to change the way aliens saw them. The battle raged on. Explosions shook the ground. Smoke filled the sky. Lieutenant Kean looked around. He saw his team falling back, aliens closing in. He knew what he had to do. He stayed behind, alone, to hold the line. He could feel fear clawing at his chest. He could feel the weight of knowing he might not survive, but he did not move. He fired at the approaching enemy. He shouted to warn his crew. Every second he held them off saved lives, many lives. The aliens watched silently. They had never seen this before. Courage was no longer just facing danger. It was selflessness. It was putting others above yourself. It was standing alone when everyone else ran. Humans began to shine, not with strength, not with weapons, but with heart, with sacrifice. The aliens began to understand that courage had many forms, and humans were masters of them all. The war was changing, and so were the perceptions of the galaxy.